Commander Vextar Gloom had been patrolling the edge of Imperial space for over 200 years. His massive reptilian body was scarred from countless battles, and his yellow eyes had seen every kind of enemy the galaxy could produce. Today felt different, though he couldn't explain why. The bridge of his flagship, Eternal Dominion, hummed with quiet activity. His crew moved efficiently between their stations, monitoring sensors and communication arrays. The Empire's border was vast, stretching across thousands of star systems, and Patrol Station Omega-7 was one of the most remote outposts. "Commander," called Lieutenant Kexara from the sensor station. Her blue scales shimmered as she turned toward him. "I'm detecting an anomaly in Sector 77 Gamma." Gloom's head swiveled toward the tactical display. Sector 77 Gamma was marked with warning symbols, a region of space that Imperial ships avoided. What kind of anomaly? "Unknown energy signature emerging from the spatial distortion field," Kexara reported. It's a ship, sir." The bridge fell silent. Nothing had ever emerged from Sector 77 Gamma. Imperial mapping drones had been trying to chart that region for decades, but they always disappeared or malfunctioned. The area was considered a navigational hazard. "Show me," Gloom commanded. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a distant object against the star field. The ship was unlike anything in Imperial records. Its hull was smooth and dark, almost organic in appearance. There were no visible weapons ports, no engine exhausts, no communication arrays. It simply existed, floating silently in space. "Computer, scan the vessel," Gloom ordered. Unable to complete full scan, the ship's artificial intelligence responded. "Energy signature does not match any known technology. Hull composition contains unidentified materials." Gloom's claws tapped against his command chair. In 2 centuries of service, he had never encountered anything the Imperial database couldn't identify. "Are there life signs aboard?" "Sensors detect multiple life forms, but their biosignatures are unlike any in our records." The unknown ship began to move, not with the violent thrust of conventional engines, but with a smooth, purposeful glide that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. It approached the Imperial patrol line slowly, as if giving them time to react. "Sir," Lieutenant Kexara called out, "the vessel is broadcasting something. Put it on speakers." The bridge filled with a series of mathematical sequences, prime numbers, geometric ratios, basic physics constants, the universal language of intelligence. The broadcast repeated several times, then switched to something else. Star charts. Simple diagrams showing stellar positions and planetary orbits. "They're trying to communicate," observed Commander Thexuno, Gloom's second in command. The smaller reptilian looked nervous. "Should we respond?" Before Gloom could answer, the unknown ship transmitted again. This time the message was in perfect Galactic standard. "Greetings. We seek peaceful contact. We mean no harm." The bridge crew exchanged shocked glances. Galactic Standard was the Empire's official language, developed over thousands of years. How could an unknown species speak it so fluently? "Commander?" Kexara's voice was tight with concern. "How do they know our language?" Gloom studied the alien vessel. Something about this situation felt wrong. First contact protocols were clear. Unknown species were to be evaluated, contained, and processed through Imperial command. But this ship had emerged from a region that should have been impossible to navigate. "Dispatch scout vessels Talon, Claw, and Fang," he ordered. "Full sensor sweeps. I want to know everything about that ship." 3 smaller Imperial vessels launched from the Eternal Dominion's hangar bays. They moved in formation toward the unknown ship, their sensors operating at maximum power. The alien vessel remained motionless, allowing them to approach. Captain Hyun-Ki sat in the command chair of the Silent Thunder, watching the Imperial scouts on his display screens. His human crew worked quietly around him, their faces calm despite the historic nature of this moment. After 200 years of preparation, first contact with the Galactic Empire was finally happening. "Captain," reported Navigation Officer Yunjung, "the Imperial Scouts are taking standard formation positions around us." "Weapons status on the Imperial vessels?" Hyun-Ki asked. Tactical Officer Jun-Ho checked his readings. "Weapons powered but not targeting us yet. They're following standard Imperial protocols. Surround and evaluate." Hyun-Ki nodded. Human intelligence had studied Imperial first contact procedures for decades. Every move the Empire made was predictable, documented, and understood. "Continue broadcasting the friendship protocols." The Silent Thunder continued transmitting mathematical proofs and stellar cartography. To the Imperials, it would look like a primitive attempt at communication. In reality, it was a carefully designed message that revealed just enough information to seem innocent while hiding the ship's true capabilities. Back on the Eternal Dominion, Commander Gloom watched his scouts surround the alien vessel. The unknown ship made no aggressive moves, continuing to broadcast its simple messages. "Sir, Lieutenant Kexara reported, our scouts are detecting some kind of advanced technology. Energy readings are off the charts, but we can't identify the power source." "Are they threatening us?" Gloom asked. "No, sir. If anything, they seem to be going out of their way to appear non-threatening." Commander Thexuno moved closer to Gloom's chair. "Sir, Imperial protocol requires us to escort unknown vessels to the nearest processing station. Should I give the order?" Gloom hesitated. Something about this felt like a test. The alien ship had emerged from impossible space, demonstrated technology beyond Imperial understanding, and somehow learned their language. Yet it claimed to be peaceful. "Signal the alien vessel," he decided. Standard Imperial greeting. The communication officer activated the broadcast system. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Vextar Gloom of the Imperial Navy. You have entered Imperial space. For your safety and ours, you will accompany our vessels to Processing Station Beta 9 for official first contact procedures." The response came immediately. "Commander Gloom, we understand your protocols. However, we prefer to conduct our meeting in neutral space. We mean no disrespect to Imperial authority." Gloom's eyes narrowed. The alien knew his name, despite never having met before. They also seemed to understand Imperial procedures better than most Imperial citizens. "That is not acceptable," Gloom replied. "Imperial law requires—" He was interrupted by alarms throughout his ship. "Commander!" Kexara called out. "The scout ships are reporting system malfunctions." On the view screen, the 3 Imperial scouts had stopped moving. They hung motionless in space, their running lights flickering erratically. "What's happening to them?" Gloom demanded. "Unknown, sir. All 3 vessels report total systems failure. Engines offline, weapons offline, communications barely functional." Captain Hyun-Ki watched the Imperial scouts drift helplessly around his ship. The demonstration had been perfect. 3 ships disabled without any apparent weapon discharge. Their crews completely unharmed. "Captain," Jun-Ho reported, "the Imperial flagship is powering weapons." "Expected," Hyun-Ki replied calmly. "Yunjung, prepare for departure. It's time to leave them with something to think about." On the Eternal Dominion, Commander Gloom stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His 3 scouts were completely dead in space, yet his sensors showed no weapon fire, no energy discharges, nothing that could explain what had happened. "How?" he whispered. The alien ship began to move away from the disabled scouts. As it did, it broadcast one final message. "Commander Gloom, your people are safe. We have simply demonstrated that we are not defenseless. We seek dialogue, not conflict. Your crews will regain full systems in exactly 1 hour. Consider this an invitation to better understanding." Before Gloom could respond, the unknown vessel seemed to fold in on itself and vanished. Not into hyperspace, the energy signature was completely different. It simply ceased to exist in that location. For several minutes, the bridge of the Eternal Dominion was silent. Finally, Commander Thexuno spoke. "Sir, what do we tell Imperial Command?" Gloom stared at the empty space where the alien ship had been. 3 of his best scouts had been disabled by an enemy that used no weapons and left no trace. The implications were terrifying. "We tell them the truth," he said slowly. "An unknown species with superior technology has made contact, and they know more about us than we know about them." As promised, exactly 1 hour later, the 3 scout ships powered back to life. Their crews reported that every system had simply stopped working, as if their ships had gone to sleep. Medical scans showed no injuries, no radiation exposure, no sign of any kind of attack. Commander Gloom filed his report that night, knowing it would send shockwaves through Imperial Command. For the first time in the Empire's long history, they had encountered something they couldn't understand, couldn't categorize, and couldn't control. Somewhere in the darkness between the stars, the silent thunder continued on its journey. Captain Hyunki smiled as he reviewed the mission logs. Phase 1 was complete. The Galactic Empire now knew that humanity existed. Soon, they would learn just how much humans had been learning about them. Admiral Cathara Void stood before the massive display screen in her command center. Her crystal body glowed with a faint blue light as she studied the sensor data from the strange encounter. 3 of her best scout ships had been disabled in 30 seconds, not destroyed, not damaged, simply turned off like old machines. "Show me the recording again," she said to Intelligence Officer Zephyron Pike. The insect-like creature clicked his mandibles and activated the playback. The unknown ship appeared on screen. It was unlike anything in the Empire's vast database. The hull was smooth and dark, with no visible weapons or engines. When the scout ships moved to surround it, the strange vessel had done something impossible. All 3 Imperial ships just stopped working. "The crews are all alive," Zephyron reported. "They say their ships simply went to sleep. Life support stayed on, but everything else shut down. No weapon signatures, no energy discharges. Nothing." Admiral Void touched the screen with one crystal finger. "This should not be possible. Our ships have the best shields in the galaxy. Our systems are protected against every known form of attack." "That's just it, Admiral," Zephyron said. "This wasn't an attack. Our scientists think it was more like a command, as if something told our ships to stop, and they obeyed." The Admiral felt a chill run through her crystal core. In her 300 years of service, she had never seen anything like this. The Empire had conquered thousands of worlds. They had faced every kind of enemy. But this was different. "What about the message?" she asked. "We seek dialogue, not conflict. Your people are safe." The words echoed in the command center. They were spoken in perfect galactic standard, but there was something strange about the accent, something the language computers couldn't identify. "Doctor." Velnox, the Empire's best xenobiologist, entered the room. His green tentacles writhed with excitement. "Admiral, I've been studying the ship's energy signature. The readings are extraordinary." "Explain," Admiral Void commanded. "The power source is unlike anything we've seen. It's not fusion, not antimatter, not even quantum decay. It's something entirely new. And the materials?" Dr. Velnox paused. "Our sensors detected elements that aren't in our periodic table." Zephyron's compound eyes widened. "Unknown elements? That's impossible. The Empire has cataloged every element in the galaxy." "That's what I thought too," Dr. Velnox said. "But I've run the scans 12 times. This ship is made of materials we've never encountered." Admiral Void felt her core grow colder. "Where did this ship come from?" "That's the real mystery," Zephyron said. He activated a star map. "It emerged from Sector 77 Gamma. We've never been able to explore that region properly." The Admiral studied the map. Sector 77 Gamma was marked with warning symbols. Remind me why we avoid that area. Spatial anomalies, Zephron explained. Our mapping drones can't get through. Every probe we send gets lost or destroyed. We assumed it was just dangerous space. What if it wasn't natural? Admiral Void asked quietly. The room fell silent. The idea was disturbing. If someone had been deliberately hiding that sector, it meant they had technology far beyond Imperial capabilities. Far away, in a hidden station floating in the darkness of space, Dr. Tae Young reviewed the same encounter from a very different perspective. The human scientist smiled as he watched the Imperial ships drift helplessly in space. Phase 1 complete, he said into his communicator. The Empire has noticed us. Captain Dong Hyun's voice crackled through the speaker. How did they react? Exactly as predicted, Tae Young replied. They're confused and frightened. Their Admiral Void is already forming an investigation team. Dong Hyun chuckled. After 200 years of watching them, we know them better than they know themselves. Tae Young nodded. The Human Observation Project had begun when Imperial scout probes first discovered Earth. The reports had classified humans as primitive primates, no immediate value. Those reports had been filed away and forgotten. But humans had been watching ever since. Hidden stations throughout the galaxy monitored Imperial communications. Human agents had infiltrated their databases. Every Imperial ship design, every weapon system, every tactical doctrine had been carefully studied and cataloged. What's our next move? Dong Hyun asked. We wait, Tae Young said. Let them investigate. Let them worry. When they finally decide to send a real fleet, we'll be ready. Dong Hyun's ship, the Quiet Storm, hung invisible in space just outside the Imperial fleet's sensor range. Human stealth technology was centuries ahead of anything the Empire possessed. They could watch every Imperial move without being detected. I'm monitoring their communications, Dong Hyun reported. Admiral Void is requesting permission to launch a full investigation. She wants to send exploration ships to Sector 77 Gamma. Of course she does, Tae Young said. The Empire never could resist a mystery. Back in the Imperial Command Center, Admiral Void was arguing with her superiors. The holographic image of General Yex the Crown filled the screen. The massive reptilian creature's yellow eyes glowed with suspicion. You want to send ships into a known danger zone because of one strange encounter? Crown growled. General, this is not just strange, Admiral Void insisted. This is unprecedented. Someone has technology that can disable our ships without firing a shot. We need to understand what we're dealing with. Perhaps this unknown species just wants to be left alone, Crown suggested. They disabled your ships, but didn't destroy them. Maybe that was a warning. Or maybe it was a test, Admiral Void countered. What if they were measuring our capabilities? What if this was just their scout, and their main force is still out there? General Crown was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. Very well. You may send 3 exploration vessels to the edge of Sector 77 Gamma. But they are not to enter the anomaly field. We observe only. Admiral Void bowed. Understood, General. As the connection ended, she turned to Zephyron. Prepare ships, dagger, sword, and shield for immediate departure. I want our best crews and our most advanced sensors. Yes, Admiral, Zephyron replied. What are we looking for? Admiral Void stared at the star map. Answers, and possibly the most dangerous enemy the Empire has ever faced. Dr. Tae Young watched the Imperial ships prepare to launch. He smiled and opened a secure channel to Earth. Council, this is Station Alpha. The Empire is taking the bait. 3 ships are heading for the barrier. The response came immediately. Understood, Alpha. All human vessels are in position. Let them look. Let them wonder. Soon they'll discover that we've been watching them all along. Tae-young closed the channel and returned to his monitors. The great game had begun. For 2 centuries, humanity had prepared for this moment. They had studied their potential enemies, developed new technologies, and planned for every possible scenario. The Empire thought they ruled the galaxy. They were about to discover they were wrong. Fleet Admiral Corthan Savage was not a patient creature. The massive reptilian warrior had spent 300 years crushing the Empire's enemies. His scales were scarred from countless battles, and his yellow eyes burned with ancient fury. The idea that some unknown species had embarrassed Imperial forces made his blood boil. 50 ships, he growled to his aide. I want 50 of our best warships ready for departure in 6 hours. Commander Thexmore, a smaller reptilian with nervous eyes, shifted uncomfortably. Admiral, perhaps we should wait for more intelligence. We still don't know what we're dealing with. Savage's massive head turned toward his aide. His teeth were like daggers. I know exactly what we're dealing with. Some primitive species got lucky and surprised a patrol. Now they think they can challenge the Empire. But Admiral Void's report suggests... Admiral Void is a crystal being, Savage interrupted. Her kind thinks too much and acts too little. This situation requires force, not analysis. Deep in space, Captain Soonja monitored the Imperial communications. From her stealth destroyer, Ghost Wind, the human captain was small and quiet, but her dark eyes missed nothing. She had been watching Imperial forces for 10 years, learning their tactics and weaknesses. Lieutenant Minho, she called to her tactical officer. Are you getting this? The young officer nodded. Yes, Captain. They're assembling the first fleet, 50 ships including 3 dreadnoughts. Soonja smiled. Exactly as command predicted. The Empire always responds to diplomacy with overwhelming force. Minho looked worried. Captain, 50 ships against 5. Even with our advantages, those are terrible odds. Numbers don't mean much when your enemy doesn't understand the game they're playing, Soonja replied. She opened a secure channel to the other human ships. All vessels, this is Ghost Wind. The Empire is coming with everything they have. Prepare for Operation Thunder. 5 human ships hung invisible in the void. Their stealth systems were so advanced that they could hide inside an Imperial formation without being detected. Each vessel was smaller than an Imperial destroyer, but their technology was centuries ahead of anything the Empire possessed. Captain Wu Jin of the ship Silent Lightning responded first. Ghost Wind, we're ready. Our new engines are performing perfectly. Captain Heywan from Dancing Blade added, all weapon systems are charged and standing by. The humans had spent decades developing their strategy for this moment. They wouldn't meet Imperial force with greater force. Instead, they would demonstrate something the Empire had never encountered, absolute tactical superiority. Admiral Savage's first fleet arrived at the edge of Sector 77 Gamma in a display of Imperial might. 50 massive warships formed a battle line that stretched across thousands of kilometers. Each ship bristled with weapons capable of destroying planets. Unknown vessels, Savage broadcast on all frequencies. You are trespassing in Imperial space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. The response came from seemingly empty space. 5 human ships suddenly appeared as if materializing from nothing. They were sleek and dark, their hulls reflecting the distant stars like black mirrors. Imperial fleet? Captain Soonja's voice echoed across the comm channels. You have entered neutral space with hostile intent. We suggest you reconsider. Savage laughed, a sound like grinding stone. 5 ships against 50. You must be joking. We are not, Soonja replied calmly. This is your final warning. Minho studied his tactical display. The Imperial ships were arranged in a classic battle formation, exactly as human intelligence had predicted. Captain, I have solutions for all targets. Patience, Lieutenant, Soonja said. Let them make the first move. Admiral Savage had heard enough. All ships, open fire. Destroy them. 50 Imperial warships unleashed their weapons, the space between the fleets filled with energy beams, plasma bolts, and missile swarms. Enough firepower to level a moon streaked toward the human vessels. None of it hit. The human ships moved like nothing the Imperials had ever seen. They didn't just dodge the attacks. They danced between them. Their movements were impossible, defying the basic laws of physics that governed space combat. Captain HFY's dancing blades spun through a cloud of missiles, each deadly projectile missing by centimeters. Captain Wu Jin's silent lightning somehow moved sideways through space, sliding between energy beams like a fish through water. "What are they doing?" Savage roared. "How are they moving like that?" His tactical officer was staring at his screens, in disbelief. "Admiral, their acceleration rates are impossible. No ship can change direction that quickly without crushing the crew." "Then how?" The human ships suddenly stopped their impossible dance. For a moment, they hung motionless in space. Then they began their counterattack. Captain Sunja spoke quietly to her crew. "All ships, execute Thunder Protocol. 1 minute maximum effect, 0 casualties." What happened next would be studied in Imperial war colleges for centuries. The human ships didn't use conventional weapons. Instead, they employed something far more devastating: perfect knowledge of their enemy. Ghost wind dove straight toward the Imperial flagship. Admiral Savage ordered his gunners to fire, but the human ship seemed to know where every shot would be before it was fired. It slipped through the defensive fire like smoke through fingers. As it passed the flagship, something strange happened. The massive Imperial dreadnought simply stopped. Its engines shut down, its weapons powered off, its shields collapsed. The ship was still intact, its crew unharmed, but it was completely helpless. Dancing Blade and Silent Lightning performed the same impossible feat on 2 more dreadnoughts. They approached the massive ships like tiny predators circling sleeping giants, and somehow rendered them completely powerless. Lieutenant Min Ho watched his display in amazement. "Captain, how are we doing this?" 200 years of intelligence. "Gathering," Sunja replied. "We know every system on every Imperial ship. We know their computer codes, their security protocols, their maintenance schedules. When you understand your enemy completely, defeating them becomes simple." The human ships moved through the Imperial formation like ghosts. Every vessel they approached suffered the same fate. Total system shutdown without any apparent damage. In 60 seconds, the entire First Fleet was rendered helpless. Admiral Savage stared at his dead controls in shock. Emergency lighting flickered in his command center. His mighty flagship, Terror of Worlds, was now just a dark hulk drifting in. "Space." "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" Captain Sunja's voice filled the darkened bridge. "Admiral Savage, your crews are safe. Your ships are undamaged. Consider this a demonstration of our desire for peace through strength." "You've destroyed my fleet," Savage growled. "We've disabled your fleet," Sunja corrected. "Your ships will restore power in exactly 1 hour. We suggest you use that time to reconsider your approach to diplomacy." Captain Wu Jin opened a channel to all human ships. "All vessels, Thunder Protocol complete. Total mission success, 0 casualties on either side." As the human ships prepared to depart, Captain Sunja broadcast one final message to the drifting Imperial fleet. "Admiral Savage, we are not your enemies, but we will not be conquered. Take this message to your Emperor. The galaxy is larger and more complex than you believe. Some secrets are worth keeping." The 5 human ships vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving 50 Imperial warships floating helplessly in the dark. Admiral Savage sat in his dead command chair, staring at the empty space where his enemy had been. For the first time in his 300-year career, the great warrior felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of death or defeat, but fear of the unknown. Somewhere in the galaxy, There was a power that could render the Empire's greatest fleet helpless without firing a shot. An hour later, as power returned to the Imperial ships, Savage sent a message that would change the course of galactic history. Command, this is First Fleet. We have encountered a superior force. Request immediate return to base for full debriefing. The Empire needs to know what we're really dealing with. Emperor Velkan the Eternal had ruled the Galactic Empire for over 1,000 years. In all that time, he had never called an emergency council session. Today was different. The ancient ruler sat on his crystal throne, his ageless face showing. Concerned for the first time in centuries, the council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from dozens of species filled the massive hall. At the center table sat High Counselor Rexara Stone, a being of living rock whose voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Your Majesty," Rexara began, "the reports from Admiral Savage are disturbing." Emperor Velkan nodded slowly. "An entire fleet disabled without casualties. Technology we cannot understand. And now they request formal negotiations." Admiral Cathara Void stepped forward. Her crystal body pulsed with worry. "The unknown species has sent a message, Your Majesty. They wish to meet at Meridian Station for diplomatic talks." Meridian Station? The Emperor's eyebrows rose. The ancient space station was neutral ground, built thousands of years ago for meetings between major galactic powers. No one had used it for centuries. "They knew about Meridian Station," Rexara said quietly. "How could they know about something so old and forgotten?" The question hung in the air like a dark cloud. General Yextha Crown, the Empire's military leader, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Your Majesty, this could be a trap. We should proceed with extreme caution." "Or," said a new voice from the chamber entrance, "you could listen to what we have to say." Every head turned toward the doorway. Two figures in simple gray uniforms walked calmly into the most secure room in the Empire. Neither appeared to be armed, but their presence sent shockwaves through the assembly. "How did you get in here?" General Crown roared, reaching for his weapon. The woman raised her hand peacefully. "Please, General, we mean no harm. I am Ambassador Ji Woo of the United Earth Coalition. This is Dr. Sungmin, our cultural specialist." Emperor Velkan studied the newcomers carefully. They looked almost identical to several known species, but there was something different about them, something that didn't quite fit. "Earth?" Rexara rumbled. "I've never heard of this world." Dr. Sungmin smiled sadly. "No, you wouldn't have. Your scouts classified our planet as primitive world, no immediate value, about 200 years ago." The council chamber erupted in confused murmurs. Ambassador Jiwoo waited for quiet before continuing. "We've been watching you ever since." Admiral Void's crystal form flickered with disbelief. "Impossible. We would have detected observation posts, monitoring stations." "Would you?" Dr. Sungmin interrupted gently. He activated a small device and a holographic display filled the air above the council table. "This is Outpost Gamma 7, one of your border stations. We've been monitoring it for 50 years. The display showed detailed schematics of the Imperial Station. Every room, every system, every security protocol was mapped with perfect accuracy. But more shocking were the timestamps. The data was updated in real time. "This is current intelligence," Dr. Sungmin explained. "We know that Commander Thexavar had lunch 17 minutes ago. We know that Lieutenant Polmar is worried about his mate's pregnancy. We know everything." General Crown's face turned dark with rage. "This is an act of war." "No," Ambassador Jiwoo said calmly. "This is what survival looks like when you're dealing with an empire that conquers first and asks questions later." Emperor Velkan leaned forward on his throne. "Show me more." Dr. Sungmin nodded and expanded the display. Suddenly, the air was filled with thousands of holographic images. imperial ship designs, military strategies, political documents, even personal communications between high-ranking officials. "We've been studying you for 2 centuries," Dr. Sung Min said. "Every aspect of your civilization, your technology, your culture, your weaknesses." Weaknesses. Rex Ara Stone's voice cracked like breaking granite. The human scientist touched his control device again. The display changed to show tactical analyses of recent Imperial battles. "Your ships rely too heavily on centralized computer systems. Your formations are predictable. Your commanders follow the same strategies their predecessors used 1,000 years ago." Admiral Void stared at the data in horror. "This is how you disabled our fleets. You knew exactly how to attack our systems." "We didn't attack anything," Ambassador Jiwoo corrected. "We simply asked your computers to shut down, and they obeyed. When you understand technology completely, you can control it." Emperor Velkan stood slowly from his throne. "Why reveal yourselves now? You could have remained hidden forever." "Because hiding is no longer enough," Jiwoo replied. "Your empire is expanding toward sectors we care about. Worlds inhabited by species you've never discovered. Civilizations that, like us, have chosen to remain hidden rather than face imperial conquest." The Emperor's eyes widened. "There are others?" Dr. Sungmin activated another display. This one showed a star map filled with previously unknown worlds. 47 civilizations, Your Majesty. All of them avoiding the Empire. All of them watching and waiting. The council chamber fell silent. The implications were staggering. The Empire thought they controlled most of the galaxy, but apparently they had only found the species that wanted to be found. High Counselor Rexera spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "How many of these hidden civilizations have technology? Like yours?" "Most of them," Jiwoo answered honestly. "When you spend centuries avoiding a galactic empire, you tend to develop some very advanced technologies." General Crown slammed his fist on the table. "This is intolerable. We are the Galactic Empire. We rule this galaxy." "You rule the parts of the galaxy that allow you to rule them," Dr. Sungmin said gently. "The rest of us have been politely staying out of your way." Emperor Velkan walked down from his throne and approached the 2 humans. "What do you want from us?" Ambassador Jiwoo looked directly into the Emperor's ancient eyes. "Change. The old way of expansion through conquest is ending. We're offering you a chance to evolve into something better." "And if we refuse?" General Crown growled. "Then you'll face 47 civilizations that have had centuries to prepare for war with the Empire," Jiwoo replied. "We'd prefer cooperation, but we're ready for either option." The Emperor studied the human ambassador for a long moment. "You're not threatening us. You're warning us." "Yes," Jiwoo nodded. "Your Majesty, the galaxy is entering a new age. Empires built on force alone cannot survive when they face enemies who understand them completely. We're offering you a chance to be part of something greater." Dr. Sung Min stepped forward. "Your Majesty, we've studied your history. The Empire wasn't always about conquest. Your earliest records speak of exploration, discovery, cooperation between species." "That was long ago," the Emperor said sadly. "It doesn't have to stay in the past," Jiwoo said. "We're proposing the Galactic Cooperation Accord, a new framework for interaction between civilizations, one based on mutual respect rather than domination." Emperor Velkan looked around his council chamber. He saw fear, confusion, and uncertainty on every face. For the first time in a millennium, the Empire faced something it couldn't conquer. "These other civilizations," he asked quietly. "They would all unite against us?" "Only if necessary," Ambassador Jiwoo assured him. "We'd much rather unite with you." The Emperor was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "I will consider your proposal, but I need proof that this cooperation you speak of is possible." Dr. Sungmin smiled. Your Majesty, we've already begun. 3 Imperial research stations have been receiving anonymous data packets containing solutions to problems they've been working on for years. Advanced mathematical proofs, new scientific discoveries, improved technologies. Admiral Void gasped. The breakthrough at Station Omega-12? The new shield harmonics? From us, Dr. Sungmin confirmed. A gift between scientists regardless of politics. Emperor Velkan stared at the humans with something approaching wonder. You've been helping us while preparing to fight us. We've been hoping we wouldn't have to fight at all, Ambassador Jiwoo said. Your Majesty, the choice is yours. Evolution or extinction. Cooperation or conflict. The galaxy is waiting to see what the Empire will choose. President In-Soo of the United Earth Coalition arrived at Meridian Station aboard the ship New Dawn. The ancient space station had been hastily reactivated for the historic gathering. For the first time in centuries, representatives from across the galaxy were meeting as equals rather than conqueror and conquered. The president was a calm, thoughtful woman who had spent her career preparing for this moment. As she walked through the station's corridors, she marveled at the alien architecture. Meridian Station had been built by a long-dead civilization as neutral ground for galactic diplomacy. Today, it would serve that purpose again. President In-Soo, Admiral Jiwoo greeted her at the airlock. The Imperial delegation arrived an hour ago. Emperor Velkan himself is here. Good, In-Soo replied. And our other guests? 17 civilizations have sent representatives so far. More are arriving every hour. The president nodded. Word of humanity's revelation had spread quickly through the hidden networks that connected the galaxy's secret civilizations. For 2 centuries, these species had lived in the shadows, avoiding Imperial attention. Now they had a chance to step into the light. In the main conference hall, Emperor Velkan sat at a table that had once hosted the rulers of a dozen extinct empires. The ancient emperor looked tired. The past week had shaken everything he believed about his domain. Captain Jae-sung entered the hall carrying a data pad. The young human explorer had spent the last 5 years making contact with lost civilizations. His report would reshape the galaxy's understanding of itself. Your Majesty, President In-Soo said as she approached the Imperial table. Thank you for coming. President In-Soo, the Emperor replied. I confess I am curious to see what you've brought me. Fleet Admiral Kyung-ho, the commander of humanity's deep space fleet, activated a massive holographic display. The image that appeared showed the galaxy as no one had ever seen it before. Ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed beings, President In-Soo began, I present the true map of our galaxy. The display zoomed in on sector after sector, revealing hidden worlds and secret civilizations. Each discovery brought gasps from the assembled delegates. The galaxy they thought they knew was actually home to hundreds of advanced species. Captain Jae-sung stepped forward. My exploration teams have made contact with 63 previously unknown civilizations in the past year alone. Each one has been hiding from Imperial expansion. A new voice spoke from the back of the hall. We had no choice. Everyone turned to see a delegation of crystalline beings entering the chamber. Their leader, a tall figure with skin like polished diamond, approached the central table. I am Coordinator Zeth Ara of the Crystal Confederacy, the being announced. Our worlds have been avoiding Imperial scouts for 300 years. Emperor Velkan stared in shock. The Crystal Confederacy? But you've been extinct for centuries. Our records... Your records show what we wanted them to show, Zeth Ara interrupted. We faked our own destruction to avoid conquest. More delegations entered the hall. The singing spheres, who communicated through harmonic frequencies. The shadow walkers, who existed partially outside normal space. The memory keepers, who preserved the histories of dead civilizations. Each group told the same story. They had encountered Imperial expansion and chosen to hide rather than fight or submit. High Counselor Rexara Stone, who had accompanied the Emperor, spoke in his rumbling voice. "How many of you are there?" "Today, 87 civilizations are represented here," President Insu answered. "Tomorrow there may be more. The galaxy is full of surprises, Counselor." General Yex the Crown, attending as the Empire's military advisor, looked around the hall with growing alarm. "This is impossible. Our surveys, our exploration fleets—" "Found exactly what we allowed them to find," said Captain Jae-sung. "Your Majesty, most of these civilizations are more advanced than the Empire. They've been watching you just as we have." Fleet Admiral Kyung-ho activated another display. This one showed comparative technology analyses. The Crystal Confederacy has mastered dimensional engineering. The singing spheres can manipulate matter at the quantum level. The shadow. Walkers have transcended the need for physical ships. Emperor Velkan felt the weight of 1,000 years pressing down on him. "All this time, we thought we were the masters of the galaxy." "You were the masters of the parts that wanted masters," Coordinator Zethara said gently. "The rest of us simply stayed out of your way." President Insu stood at the center of the hall. "Your Majesty, we're not here to diminish the Empire. We're here to invite you to join something greater." She activated one final display. This one showed a new kind of star map, with trade routes and communication networks connecting hundreds of worlds. The Galactic Cooperation Accord, a framework for interaction based on mutual benefit rather than domination. "How would it work?" Emperor Velkan asked. Dr. Sung Min, who had been quietly taking notes, stood up. "Shared technology, open communication, cooperative exploration. Instead of conquest, we propose partnership." General Crown scoffed. "The Empire has ruled through strength for 1,000 years. Why should we change now?" "Because strength without wisdom leads to isolation," said a new voice. Everyone turned to see an elderly figure entering the hall. Ambassador Taeho was one of Earth's most experienced diplomats. He walked slowly to the central table and placed his hands on its ancient surface. "General Crown, I've studied your military history. The Empire wins battles, but you're losing. The war for the galaxy's future. Every species you conquer either rebels or goes extinct. Every world you control requires constant military presence. You're not building an empire. You're creating a prison." The general's face darkened, but Emperor Velkan raised a hand for silence. "Continue, Ambassador," the Emperor said. "Your Majesty, true strength comes from cooperation. When civilizations work together, they achieve things no single empire could accomplish. We're offering you the chance to be part of something unprecedented, a galactic community where every species contributes their unique gifts." Captain Jae-sung activated his personal display. "I can show you examples. The Meridian Project. 17. Civilizations working together to restore dead worlds. The Deep Space Initiative. Joint exploration missions discovering new forms of life. The Knowledge Exchange. Sharing scientific discoveries across species barriers." "These are already happening?" Rexara asked in amazement. "For 50 years. Captain Jae-sung confirmed. "While the Empire was focused on conquest, the rest of us were building the future." Emperor Velkan stood slowly from his chair. The ancient ruler walked to the great window that looked out into space. Thousands of ships from dozens of civilizations hung in the void around Meridian Station. "All these species," he said quietly, "all this knowledge, all this potential, and we never saw any of it." "You saw what you expected to see," President Insu said kindly. "Conquest makes you blind to everything except enemies and subjects. Cooperation opens your eyes to partners and friends." The Emperor turned back to face the assembly. "What guarantee do we have that this cooperation will work?" Fleet Admiral Kyung-ho smiled. "Your Majesty, you're already part of it. 3 Imperial research stations are now exchanging data with 17 alien species. Your scientists don't know it yet, but they're working on joint projects with beings you thought were extinct. Admiral Cathara Void, who had been silent throughout the meeting, suddenly spoke up. The breakthrough at Station Omega-12, the new shield harmonics, those weren't just gifts from humans, they were collaborative efforts, Dr. Sung-Min confirmed. Your scientists, our mathematicians, and crystal engineers from the Confederacy, together you solved problems none of you could handle alone. Emperor Velkan looked around the hall at faces representing hundreds of different species. For the first time in his long life, he felt small, not diminished, but part of something larger than himself. "If I agree to this accord," he said slowly, "what happens to the Empire?" "It evolves," President Insu replied. "From an empire of conquest to a coalition of cooperation. From masters and slaves to partners and equals." The Emperor was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "I accept." 6 months later, Captain Jae-sung stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Unity. The ship's crew represented 12 different species, all working together to explore the galaxy's remaining mysteries. Captain's log, stardate 2387.156, he dictated. "Today we discovered our 15th new civilization this year. The quantum dreamers of the Spiral Nebula have agreed to join the Galactic Cooperation Accord. Their unique ability to perceive probability streams will greatly enhance our exploration efforts." He paused to look out at the stars. The transformation continues. Former Imperial worlds are becoming research centers and cultural exchanges. Species that hid for centuries are sharing their knowledge freely. The galaxy is becoming what it was always meant to be. Not an empire, but a community. Lieutenant Hae-jin, his communications officer, looked up from her console. "Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Earth." On screen, President Insu's image appeared. "Captain Jae-sung, congratulations on another successful contact. The Accord Council has voted to establish a new Deep Space Academy on Meridian Station. We'd like you to serve as the first director." Jae-sung smiled. "I'd be honored, Madam President."